The holidays are here, right? A time for joy, for connection, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of amazing food. But for so many of us, that festive meal can also bring on a ton of anxiety and guilt. So today, we're going to talk about how to find real food freedom this holiday season. Just think about it for a second. When you picture that holiday table, what do you feel? Is it pure excitement and celebration? Or does it feel a little bit like a battleground? If you feel that tension, I promise you, you are not alone. And the key to changing that feeling starts with understanding one really big idea. Okay, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about emotional eating. Now, that's a term we hear thrown around all the time, but what does it actually mean, especially when the holidays roll around? At its core, it's pretty simple. It's when you use food not because your stomach is actually rumbling, but because you're looking for comfort, or you're trying to handle stress, or maybe you're just bored or feeling nostalgic. It's all about feeding a feeling, not your body. And it is so important to know the difference between these two. Physical hunger is patient. It kind of builds up slowly. But emotional hunger? Man, that feels like an emergency. It just hits you out of nowhere, it demands a very specific food, like now, and it almost always leaves you feeling guilty afterward. Just being able to spot which one you're feeling is a huge first step. And look, if you do this, you are so not alone. It's not some rare thing. Just look at this number. Research shows that nearly 38% of adults, that's almost 4 out of every 10 people, turn to emotional eating in a single month. It's an incredibly common way that we humans cope. And the holidays, oh man, they create the perfect storm for this, don't they? You've got family gatherings that can stir up old stuff. You've got the stress of just planning everything. And then you have these super powerful feelings of nostalgia, all happening in a season that's surrounded by special, memory-filled foods. It's no wonder it's our go-to. So, what's the typical solution we're sold on? Just restrict more. Have more willpower, right? Well, it turns out that advice isn't just unhelpful, it's often the very thing making the problem a whole lot worse. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. The very act of creating these super strict food rules, of labeling foods as good or bad, it just sets us up to fail. Let's break down why. And get this is the stat that just blows my mind. Around 70% of research actually links restrictive diets directly to an increase in binge eating. Let that sink in for a second. The very diet that's supposed to control your eating can be the trigger for losing control completely. And this is that trap in action, that vicious cycle. First, your restrictive food. Your brain immediately sees that as scarcity, which then creates these intense cravings. I mean, psychologically, making something forbidden just makes it a million times more desirable. So when you finally give in, you're way more likely to overdo it, which then leads to this wave of guilt and shame. And what does that shame tell you to do? You failed, you need to restrict even harder. And the whole miserable cycle starts right back up again. And this is all tied up in that toxic idea that you have to somehow earn your holiday meal with a workout or punish yourself for it the next day. This way of thinking turns food into this moral system of rewards and punishments, and it ties your value as a person to what's on your plate. And that is just a recipe for misery. Okay, so enough about the problem, right? If restriction is the trap, what's the escape route? Let's get to the good part, the actual actionable tools that can lead you to real food freedom. Okay, now this is the absolute key. And I know it might sound a little wild, maybe even a bit scary at first, but the core principle is this. You give yourself unconditional permission to eat all foods, without guilt, without judgment. When you do that, food starts to lose its power over you. That forbidden cookie isn't some evil temptation anymore. It's just a cookie. You can choose to eat it or not. This isn't about losing control. It's about finally getting it back. So you're probably thinking, okay, how do I actually do that? Well, you start by actually listening to your body again. This hunger and fullness scale is a fantastic tool. You're not aiming for starving or stuffed, you're aiming for that sweet spot, starting to eat when you're moderately hungry and stopping when you're comfortably satisfied. And don't forget that 20-minute delay for your brain to get the "I'm full" signal. That is a total game changer. This next part is all about slowing down and actually experiencing your food. When you really savor each bite, focusing on the smells, the textures, the flavors, you get so much more satisfaction and enjoyment. And that naturally helps you realize when you've had enough. Instead of just rushing through a meal, you're making it a real experience. Okay, but what about the real world? What do you do when someone at the table starts talking about their new diet or calories? It can be so triggering. Here's a really simple, super polite way to redirect the conversation without making a big scene. You're just gently shifting the focus back to enjoyment. And hey, if that gentle hint doesn't work, it is 100% okay for you to set a firmer boundary. This isn't rude. This is about protecting your peace of mind. Stating your needs clearly and politely is a really powerful act of self-care. You see, all these little tools and strategies, they're really all in service of a much bigger, much more important idea. It's about fundamentally shifting your mindset away from what you're eating and toward why you're all gathered together in the first place. And if you've ever felt that wave of guilt after a big holiday meal, I really want you to hear this. You are not alone, not even close. A 2020 survey showed that 63% of people feel the exact same way. That guilt is super common, but it does not have to be your reality. So let's be real. What if you do eat more than you intended to? What then? The answer is not shame, it's self-compassion. Instead of beating yourself up, just try treating yourself with the same kindness you would give to a good friend. Acknowledge it happened, and then let it go. And please, please, burn this into your brain. One meal does not define your health or your worth. The absolute best thing you can do after indulging is to simply return to your normal way of eating. No detoxes, no punishment workouts, no skipping meals. Just get back on track. Because at the end of the day, this is the ultimate takeaway. This is what it's all about. The holidays are for connecting with the people you love, for making memories, and for sharing joy. The food is just one part of that beautiful picture. When you focus on connection, the pressure around food perfection just starts to melt away. So, I'll leave you with this one question to think about. This holiday season, what are you really going to choose to savor? The food, the conversation, the laughter, the memories? The choice is all yours.